with Sabbath Coffee Roasters.
And there is optimism, with your hiring as well as the off-season here. But what's the message to the fans that have seen prior attempts as to why this one will be different?
I think we're going to try to be systematic and like I said, intentional about the young men that we bring in, how we go about developing them, how we go about putting together a roster. And I think it's just developing an identity and just this is what we do every day. If we're not going to do that, then we're going to find people that are, and just a high compete level every day in practice and the games. So what the fans come to expect is what they're going to see every game, which is a team that represents the city of Detroit, the Pistons organization, and all the fans to the highest level, and they're accountable to one another of what they expect every game coming in. And I think that's, if I had to say one thing to fans to expect is, I think JB is really high on that as well, and he's going to reiterate that later, is that's the biggest expectation for our guys individually and as a team.
Hey, what up, though, people? It is Wake Up Woodward. We appreciate you guys for choosing to kick off today with the Woo Crew. It is time for the Woodward Pistons segment, and we got a couple different light goals. Two of those going on. So if we guys get to the first one, get to the second one, we got multiple merch giveaways. For this segment, there's Woodward Pistons merch giveaway going on. Training camp has started, and I got to kind of run you guys through some things before we do this drum roll really quickly. We got preseason basketball this Sunday at 6. You got the open practice. It's free. I implore everybody to go. It's going to be at the Wayne State Fieldhouse, and it's a good time. Go out there, man. Get some food, have some fun, meet some of the players. It's going to be an intimate setting. That is Sunday. They are going to be playing at the Breslin Center October 8th versus Phoenix Suns, so Devin Booker will be home. I will be at that game. And then the first game and the home game, October 23rd, that is 7 p.m. And we're going to talk about this, man, because I wanted to ask Trajan and some of these guys, what is different? Because we've heard this, at least my tenure covering this squad. I've seen this a couple different times now. Couple different regimes, and I wanted to ask him, we're going to hear some of these same things, but what about you? The message directly to the fans will make this thing different. And somebody else that was there in the room, shout out to Cody Davis, Detroit News, their beat writer, Pistons beat writer, but also, let's go, man. Hey, take it away with Rod's thoughts. We got media day, we got training camp, all four sports teams are back in action.
Yeah, it's a busy time for us in the newsroom too. But the Pistons being the last one to kind of get back in the groove of things. What I liked about media day was there wasn't this. There are no promises. There are no anything. Trajan Langdon seems very measured. That we're just going to try to figure this thing out, and we're going to be what we're going to be. We're not going to say that we're putting a number on anything. Sort of the same thing that we've said. But we want to go out there and be competitive every game and to play Pistons basketball. And I think that's the right approach to take for this is don't tell me what you're going to do. Just go show me what you're going to do.
You know what, Rod? I'm so glad that you went there because my entire feel and take from that press conference is that they feel almost annoyed that they know they have to give the answers of hope because they believe in what they have to do. Yep. But you can see from the players, they're just ready to hoop. Cade, and we're going to play some video from him. Cade looked like he's just tired of the questions. He looks like he's been in the weight room, by the way, but he looks like he's tired of the questions. He's just ready to go out there and hoop. They're ecstatic for what these vets will bring. One of the common threads we continue to hear from media day from all the different players, especially young ones, is the fact that they're like, yo, these vets are here. These vets are giving us the right advice, things we have not had in the past. And they wanted to make sure not to disrespect the guys from the past, but that these vets here, they bring a different quality that they haven't had. And just to know that these guys, they also said, are going to be available. Things felt different, but you could tell they don't want to buy into or sell hope. They just want to go out there and show it on the court. And that was kind of my biggest takeaway. There weren't, like you said, any overarching promises or anything. But when JB Bickerstaff talks, that guy's a coach's coach, Rod. He's a coach's coach. And so I can understand why these guys were feeling the way they were feeling.
Right, and it's a guy who seems to get it in Bickerstaff, but you want to just see how all of this melds together. And I'm interested in these first couple of preseason games. Sunday, we had a preseason game on Sunday, man. This is crazy. But that's where all of this, the tire hits the road on these, is they've been playing together throughout the summer and trying to establish some chemistry. But what does this look like when they start playing. And I think one of the questions too was about backup point guard and is that Sasser, is that Ivy? Let's see it. Just show me what this looks like.
You know what? That's something that JB Bickerstaff also, he kind of talked about yesterday. Like, there's no lineup set right now, but right now everything is on the table. And what he wants to see is everybody being scrappy, everybody kind of showing that hunger and that desire. You know what? If we got those JB Bickerstaff clips, JB Smooth, let's play both of those back to back. I know that you've seen some good qualities about Cade Cunningham from afar, but now that you're up close and personal, is there anything new that you've learned about Cade Cunningham, the player, or Cade Cunningham, the leader?
Well, yeah, that's the most important thing is when you're not around a guy, you don't know his personality. You know what you've heard, and obviously he's got a great reputation. But I love just watching him interact with his teammates. You know, the conversations that he has with those guys, the conversations, the questions that they ask him. Like, he's got a great way about him where people just want to be around him and play with him. So that's been fun to see so far.
You see the intensity, the scrappiness, the hunger that this team really wants to turn this thing around?
Yeah, the energy is there, right? Like this morning was non-contact stuff, but the speed at which they played, the way they were listening, the way they were trying to do everything that we asked them to do, you can tell that they're hungry, and that always bodes well.
What I appreciate about JB Bickerstaff is he just feels very honest, and it feels like I tell you, it feels like I'm talking to a coach. With Dwayne Casey, it felt like I was talking to a guy who was like a mentor. You know what I mean? When I was talking to Monty Williams, it was a little bit of a different vibe or feel. But with JB Bickerstaff, it feels like I'm at like a clinic or at like a camp or like, summer workouts at Pro-Am when I was in college and such. And it's electric, man. These guys, they look like they're responding. We get to see the practices and such. And it was cool to see people working out as well, like Asar Thompson with Fred Vinson. The shot and the form is looking a little bit better. I know you had something to say too, Flannel.
Yeah, Rod, I want to ask you as somebody who's covered many Piston teams, and I know Kool-Aid, you've covered a few. In the case of you, Kool-Aid, all bad. In the case of you, Rod, some good, some good, some bad. But when I look at these clips and when I hear you guys talk, I see and I hear from you guys a difference in messaging that is especially different from the previous couple of years. Do you think that has any correlation in potentially market improvement for this Detroit Pistons team?
Now, I think it's a realization of what they are, that they're not a team who's right there and vying for the playoffs. They're not going to win 37 games and be right there on the cusp of trying to squeeze in the playoffs. I think they're at the lower level and the foundation of this build and trying to figure out what they are. And again, who they need to keep, who they need to kind of jettison away. And they got so many young guys that it's just hard to get a good read. But I think they have that self-awareness and that realization of who they are and what they are.
Yep, and you know what? I want to be able to hear from Cade and Ron Holland as well. Just a couple more of the players, because they're seeing what's going on in the city right now. They're seeing the energy, and Ron Holland especially. His right after that one, JB.
Last time we spoke, you said that you were going to be pulling for the Lions. And since then, I saw you also throw out the first pitch, decked out in Tigers gear. How has it been getting accustomed to Detroit?
It's been amazing. Me being in the downtown area, I hear all types of noise when the games go down. So trust me, I've been a part of that. It feels like I'm there. But me being able to just be blessed to throw the first pitch and hearing the crowd roar when things like that happen, it's been amazing. And the amount of love that this city shows to the sports is ridiculous. Like it's unbelievable, and I'm excited to be blessed to be a part of this now. And when I hear the crowds and stuff roaring for me, it's gonna hit different.
Because there's a Feldman dealership in your backyard.
Yeah, it's a challenge that we definitely want to take on for sure. I was there at the game. What was that, Friday when Tigers clinched? And so watching that, I'm in the building watching how the stadium was reacting to that. Gave me chills. So that's what we want to do for the Pistons fans, for the city on the basketball side is we want to bring that same excitement, that same joy to the Pistons. So.
Right there, man. You could tell with the players, they're ready to just play the games. But it's cool to see that they are inundating themselves in the culture of Detroit sports, being amongst the fans, and to be able to hear their perspective. I know it has to be eating at them. And with Cade Cunningham, there was never a question about returning. He said, yeah, we had to figure out the business, but he was like, I already wanted to come back. He wants to accomplish something here for Detroit, and that means it has to happen realistically during this window of his contract, and that's why I can't wait to get the games going. Obviously, there's not a lot of people that are going to expect the Detroit Pistons to have a kind of a destiny or a miracle season like we see out of the Detroit Tigers, but I do believe that this attempt, the basketball minds, it's different being in the gym this year, man. And you're looking around, Jared Jack is still there. You see Jamel McMillan, son of Nate McMillan, great basketball mind. You see Kevin Burleson, brother of Nate Burleson, who's now an assistant. You see Fred Vinson. You see Luke Walton. Dwayne Casey popped his head in the gym. It's something a little bit different. Somebody made a remark about one of the pictures that the Detroit Pistons now have, it seems like, more assistant coaches than players. And it's because I believe now they have everything they need to focus on not just the development of these young guys, but making sure that you're instilling a program and a process, which is what we heard from the players, multiple players. They said that JB Bickerstaff in particular, over what they've experienced, because most of them some of them have had 3 or 4 coaches to this point, that there's a different process that he has. And that when he explains things, it is understandable. And that's why I do have some optimism about this Detroit Pistons team finally being on the right track. That doesn't mean they're making the playoffs this year. But in terms of hearing those young players talk about like things that I assume just weren't present prior with this organization for them, that's what makes me excited. Now is where I believe we're going to see the biggest leaps out of guys like Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey. Every time I heard him talk about those players, it went Caden Cunningham and then Jaden Ivey. Whereas last year, Jaden Ivey seemed to be an afterthought in a lot of those conversations, Rod. So got some optimism about him.
Yeah, I think that focus is key, is that you have your veteran guys who are coming in, but you also need to continue to develop your young guys. And I think he said it too, is that you have your strengths, but you don't ignore your strengths when you're working on your weaknesses. If you're talking about Asar Thompson and his shooting, you don't just say he's going to be a better shooter. We're going to put him in a vault with Fred Vinson and make his shooting better. You still got to worry about defense and ball handling and all of the other stuff in addition to that. So I think talking about the young guys and still trying to boost them up is going to be the key here.
Yep, definitely. And because that's all you can honestly ask for with this Detroit Pistons team is let's finally get the right foundation poured and laid. We talked about this with the last regime, and they had a decent foundation, and it's what they're able to start with right now. And now they've been able to go and bring in vets that people around the league respect. Tobias Harris is going to be a hooper. They keep talking about, hey, he's a vet. But I asked a couple players like, yeah, but you guys have already been playing. Who's Tobias Harris? They were like, oh, he's getting buckets this year. So it's going to be fun to see. That is the Woodward Pistons segment. Training camp has started. They got day 2 today. Media day has passed. Again, I implore you guys, definitely get down to Wayne State Fieldhouse this weekend, as well as if you can get to that preseason game, let's rock. And if you guys will be at that preseason game, let me know. We'll get you guys in some content. But Rod, any last thoughts?
No. I think we're finally talking about basketball, and that game is on ESPN. I mean, that's insane. That's big. So we will get to see very quickly kind of what this team has and if there's going to be that significant growth that we're talking about.
It's going to be interesting. And you know what? I'm taking my first trip to the Breslin Center to cover Pistons versus Phoenix. I see JB, our resident Sparty, over there celebrating. And it's not for what you think. I know I'm supposed to be on the clock covering the Pistons. This is for Mr. Grand Rapids. Your favorite team of all time is the Detroit Pistons. The Devin Booker, come home, bro. Force your hand.
Come on home.
Force your. You have a Sparty that is your team owner who understands just how important this would be. That owner once was the jersey patch logo sponsor for the Pistons. He would understand. Have that conversation with him, Devin Booker. Come home, bro.
Come on home.
Come on home.
You got two Sparties that might be able to work that out.
Let's go.
All right.
Let's ride. Hey.
All right at the end.
Hey, but you know what? That's the Woodward Pistons segment. Hey, he's back. You guys for kicking off this Woodward Pistons segment with us. We will identify somebody for that merch giveaway. Continue to woo Broder in the chat as well. Detroit sports, man. Everything is bubbling up right now. Let's get into this next segment.
Everything is bubbling up, but first, JB, tell us about Caesars.
Oh, yeah, of course. You know I got you on Caesars.